In today's lesson, we are going to continue our exploration of literal equations. The target is that you will be able to solve literal equations. So just a refresher, we did talk about this on day 1, but just a quick review. A literal equation is an equation that consists primarily of variables. And we said that formulas are a great example of literal equations. Here's 5 examples for you. For the most part, each equation is made up of variables, but you can have numbers involved. It's just that there's more than one variable in the actual equation. Depending on what kind of information you're given, you may want to leave the equation as is, or you may want to rearrange it. If you rearrange it, the goal is to solve for another variable. This can be useful depending on the information that you are given. If you need to solve for, let's say in the volume formula, you need to solve for height when you're given the volume, the length, and the width. You would rearrange the literal equation, so it's a lot easier to solve for height. So today we are going to take a look at the level 2 literal equations. I call these level 2 just because they're a little more complicated than the ones that we talked about in the level 1 notes. However, it's still the same solving steps that you have seen before. So picking up where we left off, problem number 5. The equation says c minus x equals r plus d, and the goal is to solve the equation for x. I always want to box off the variable that I'm solving for. So I'm going to find the x in my equation, and there's a minus sign in front of it, so I'm going to box off minus x. Always include the sign in front of the term. Outside of the box, I have a positive c, and I need to move that to the other side of the equation. The opposite of a positive c is a negative c. So I'm going to minus c on both sides of the equation. On the left, my c's will cancel, so I'm going to cross those off. I'm going to drop down the negative x. On the right, I have r, d, and negative c. None of those are like terms, nothing can be combined, so I just list them all in order. R plus D minus C. Okay, we're almost done. The only problem is we have this pesky little negative in front of the x. Remember, this means -1 times x. So I need to undo that multiplication. To undo that times by -1, I'm going to divide by -1. Now, in the past, you've only had one term on each side of the equation when it came to division. This time, we have a lot of terms over on the right-hand side. So we are going to divide each of those by -1. Anything you do to one side, you have to do to everything on the other side. So we are dividing everything by -1. Here's what happens. On the left-hand side, all of my negatives cancel, and I'm left with just x equals. Now we're going to divide. So a positive r divided by -1 will become -r. A positive divided by a negative is a negative, and r divided by 1 is just r. Second term, I have a positive d divided by a -1. Positive divided by a negative makes negative. D divided by 1 is just d. Finally, we have a negative c divided by -1. A negative divided by a negative will make this become a positive. C divided by a 1 gives me c. So my new equation now says x equals -r minus d plus c. This is the same equation that we started with. The only difference is now to solve for x because it starts with x equals. All right, time for a you try problem. Follow along with me. Problem 6. This equation says c minus a equals d minus r. And we were asked to solve this equation for a. So let's look at the equation. Which variable should I box off? I was asked to solve for a, so I'm going to box off the negative a. Outside of the box, I have a positive c. How do I move a positive c to the other side of the equation? By subtracting, so minus c both sides. On the left-hand side, my c's will cancel. Drop down negative a equals D, R, and C. None of those are like terms, so I just write what I see in order. So D minus R minus C. Okay, one more step. I have negative a, but I was asked to solve for a positive a. So how do I get rid of this negative that's in front of the a? By dividing. I need to divide every term by -1. So on the left-hand side, my negatives cancel, and I bring down a equals. Now be careful with your signs. Positive divided by a negative is negative. D divided by 1 is D. Next, I have a negative divided by a negative. That makes positive. R divided by 1 is R. Finally, I have another negative divided by a negative, which makes positive. C divided by 1 is just C. So here's my final answer. A equals negative D plus R plus C. Two more problems. Problem number 7. This equation says U equals B times K times A. Remember, there's nothing in between my letters here, so it's implied that there's multiplication going on. I'm going to solve for A. So in my equation, let's box off the A. Outside of the box, I have times B and times K. Both of these letters are being multiplied. So to undo that multiplication, I need to divide both sides. And I can do this in the same step. Since I have to get rid of the times B and the times K, I can just divide by B and divide by K, all in the same step. So on the right, my BK cancels with my BK. And I drop down A equals. On the left, I cannot do U divided by BK, so I just leave it the way I see it. U over BK. That's my final answer. One more problem, problem number 8, and we're going to make this a U-try problem. So find the equal sign, draw the line straight down the middle. This problem says X times K equals W plus V, and we were asked to solve for X. So in the equation, which variable should I box off? I should box off the X. Always box off what you are solving for. Save that for last. Outside of the box, I have a times K. How do I undo times K? By dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by K. Now all of this is all going to get divided by K in one step. On the left-hand side, my K's cancel. I bring down the X equals. I cannot do W plus V divided by K, so I just leave it the way I see it. W plus V divided by K. And that takes care of that equation. So those are your level 2 literal equations.